Well, hey there, and welcome to Unmistakably You. It's Amy. I'm a few minutes late tonight. My apologies. I was just wrapping up a meeting with my wedding for this weekend, just finalizing a few details because there are 935,000 of them. You know. Anyway, welcome. If you are in the midst of planning your wedding, we are here to help. We are wedding planners and educators in London, Ontario. If you've been joining us for a while, hi, welcome back. If you are new, thank you so much for popping in. Don't hesitate to say hi, pop a comment in the messages, and we would be happy to hear from you. Every Wednesday, we hop on here and we talk about some issues that you may be facing in your wedding planning. We give you some tips and tricks and hopefully some guidance on things that we see all the time, but you as a wedding planning virgin, if you will, presumably, you may not think about or you may not really have on your radar. So one of those things that is kind of top of mind for me right now, because yesterday was Halloween and I don't know about all y'all, but I ate some candy. Probably shouldn't have, but I did. So one of the things that I was thinking about today was to talk about the tradition of a candy bar or a sweets table, dessert table at your wedding. It's something that has been around for a while. I mean, dessert is a must-have if you ask me, but the candy bar, candy buffet kind of showed up, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, and we're still seeing it happening. So if that's something that you're thinking about doing, I just wanted to pop on here today and give you some tips and tricks for how to make sure that it looks appealing and that it is cohesive with your wedding theme, to make sure that you have some choices on there in terms of the selection of candy or sweets that your guests are going to enjoy, and also to make sure that it's functional and that it actually works for your guests to serve themselves and to enjoy. So we're going to talk about the aesthetics, the choices that you make, and the functionality. As always, don't hesitate to pop into the comments and say hi if you were watching me live. I always like to hear from you so that I don't feel like I'm just talking to myself in a room, lonely by myself. So candy bars. The first thing that you want to think about is aesthetics. For a lot of years, I did really beautiful color coordinated candy bars that perfectly matched the aesthetic of the wedding. And that is amazing. It flows seamlessly. Everything's really cohesive. It looks like it's an intentional part of the wedding day. Except that if you are looking for, let's say, all pink and white candy, you're going to find some things that are actually delicious. And then you're going to find some things like sixlets, for instance, that are disgusting. And yeah, they're pink. Sure, they match your theme. Great. But nobody's going to eat them. So it's a total waste of money if you put something like that on your candy bar. And a little bit more about that later. But just keep in mind that the aesthetics are, sure, they're important, but if the function and the intention behind a candy bar is actually to give the guests a treat that they will enjoy, maybe it's going to stand in for a favor, for instance, then you want to have choices that they actually will enjoy. Now, when you're setting up your candy or your desserts, you want to apply the principles of design that I talk about all the time to your candy bar or to your dessert table, just like you would to any other element of your wedding, like you would to your centerpieces or like you would to your welcome table. So the things that are really important on your candy buffet are levels. You want to create some visual interest by raising up some of your items a little bit higher and keeping some things a little bit lower. So the ways that you can do that are by using risers. So you could use acrylic risers if you're doing a more modern theme. You could use crates if you're doing a more rustic theme. You can get beautiful mirrored risers if you're looking for something a little bit more contemporary. There are definitely lots of ways that you can create some height with risers. And then the actual vessel that you choose for your candy can also create some levels. So maybe you're going to use some footed dessert plates where they have a little bit of height because they have that pedestal on them to begin with. Maybe you're going to put some of your things on flat platters that are going to sit just on the table. So creating that visual interest is really important because even though it's dessert or candy, we still eat with our eyes. We still want the presentation to be beautiful. We also want that presentation to be cohesive with the rest of your wedding. So let's say, for instance, you're using lanterns as centerpieces. Throw some lanterns on your candy bar. Maybe you're using floating candles. Include those on your candy bar. Carry the votives that you're using on all of the rest of your auxiliary tables through your candy bar. Make sure that your linen matches. So all of these things are going to help you to create a really intentional and cohesive looking candy bar. And of course, you're going to want to include some signage in that too. So the signage should match your place cards or your table numbers or your bar signage. Make sure that you include the same graphics and colors and fonts that you have on the rest of your signage, because that's going to help it blend seamlessly with the rest of the wedding. So all of those things are going to help your candy or your sweets table look great. What about how it tastes? Like I said before, don't buy candy just for the sake of it being the right color. If it's disgusting, nobody's going to eat it. In my experience, people love chocolate. I mean, I love chocolate. People tend to like gummies to an extent, as long as they are, something that you want to eat. Don't get those old shrivelly, dried up hunks of gelatin that have no flavor, again, just because they match your theme. You're going to want to choose things that you actually enjoy. And in fact, you might want to throw the whole color coordination thing completely out the window and just go with your favorites. I did a candy/dessert bar last weekend where it was bride's favorites were butter tarts. So we got some awesome flavored butter tarts from Annie's here in town. Groom's favorites were brownies. So we got some delicious brownies from the baker who did the cake. Then the bride has her favorite flavor of Lindor, and the groom had his favorite flavor. Then the bride chose turtles, and the groom chose Reese's peanut butter cups. So, I mean, the colors, because it was a fall themed wedding, the colors kind of worked. There were some reds and oranges in there. But generally speaking, they chose their favorites more based on what they like and what they know their guests are going to like than they did on making sure to match the theme. In terms of how much to buy, it really depends on what the rest of your event looks like. If you are having a 3-course meal with a provided dessert from the venue, and you have a 2-tier wedding cake that's going to be cut and plated for dessert, and then you're throwing in a whole bunch of other sweets or desserts on that candy bar or dessert table, you're probably going to have leftovers. So as much as I am a total sweet fanatic, I have a huge sweet tooth, I would eat sugar all day long if I could. I am also cognizant of, not doing that because it's not good for me. And also you just physically can't. So if you have an overabundance of sweets, you're going to end up taking a lot of them home. Now, if you want to do a really elaborate dessert spread, maybe you want to talk about then eliminating the dessert that comes with the venue package. You can probably shave a couple of dollars off of that overall venue package and bring in your desserts from elsewhere if that's something that you would like to do. That's going to reduce the amount of leftovers that you have. The same thing with your cake. If you know that guests aren't likely to eat cake, which I'll be honest with you, a lot of them don't get a full 2 or 3 tier real cake. If it's important to you to have that cake cutting for the tradition, for the photo, absolutely get a small 6 or 8 inch cake that's only going to serve a few people. Maybe you take it home. Maybe you serve it for brunch the next day. Maybe you do the tradition where you put it in the freezer and you save it until your 1-year anniversary. If you do, wrap it up like 85 times in tinfoil and plastic wrap and put it in a Tupperware so that it has a hope in heck of being fresh by next year. But if you're already going to do a multiple tier cake and a dessert with dinner, and then you're bringing in all of these other desserts, there are absolutely going to be leftovers. So maybe scale back on a couple of those other areas if you do want to do a dessert spread. I've had people do incredible pie bars in the past. I did a wedding 2 weeks ago where it was pies and crisps for dessert. So there was an awesome apple crisp, and there was a lemon meringue pie and a pecan pie that I really wanted some of, but I didn't get any. And people love that, whereas they don't tend to go as crazy for your traditional wedding cake. So consider what your guests will actually enjoy if it is important to you to create a sweets table or a candy buffet. Finally, In terms of functionality, you want to think a little bit about blending those aesthetics with the actual process of going up to the candy buffet or dessert buffet and taking something to then take back to your seat and eat. So if it is, actual desserts like brownies or pies, you need to have dessert plates there. You need to have tongs or lifters or something so that people can actually help themselves. I would also encourage, if it's past dinner time, that you have some paper napkins up there as well so people can clean up after themselves. You also want to think about the vessels that you are putting things on or that you're serving things in. Hi, Rebecca. You want to make sure that they are actually suited to the thing that you are serving. So if you have candies, you need to make sure that the bowl or the vase or whatever it is that you're putting them in is big enough to accommodate the amount that you're buying. There are these beautiful apothecary jars out there that are really nicely shaped and they have beautiful lids. But here's the thing, as soon as people start helping themselves to the candy, the lid is gone. And does it fall off the table and smash on the floor? Does it then clutter up your beautiful display that you've put so much time and effort into? So thinking a little bit about the actual functionality of your vessels is going to serve you well as thinking about what you are serving or what you're providing to the guests to serve themselves with. So you're going to want presumably some tongs, some scoops. If you have like a big spoon, for instance, you can't really easily put that in a big vessel of gummies because they're so sticky that you can't nicely and easily get a spoonful. So maybe you want to put tongs in with your gummies instead of a spoon, whereas a spoon is going to work great if you have something like peanut M&Ms or a hard shell candy that doesn't stick together. So thinking through how guests are going to serve themselves, as well as what they're going to put it in. You can't provide a whole bunch of loose candies without some kind of a bag or a bowl or a box to put them in. So this is where maybe you want to get a cute little monogrammed paper bag, or maybe you want to have some kind of a cute little Chinese takeout container. This is another area where you can really lean into your theme. So if you have a rustic theme, maybe you get a paper bag that has a rustic graphic on it or something like that. If you have a more modern theme, maybe you want to get an acrylic clear box that the top folds down. So thinking about keeping that all consistent while being functional is really, really important. Ultimately, you do you. If you have a sweet tooth, you put those things that you love on that candy bar or on that dessert buffet. Just give some thought to the way that it looks and the way that it flows with your entire wedding. Give a thought to whether you're buying something because it's actually delicious or just because it aesthetically matches your theme and tastes awful. Like those gigantic white mint things, nobody likes those. Don't buy those just because they're white. Real truth here. And then think about the functionality as well. So make sure that guests have the appropriate vessels to serve from, the appropriate utensils to serve with, and then something to pack their candy or their desserts into or onto, plates or bowls or bags or boxes. As always, if you have any questions about anything, if you're catching me on the replay, don't hesitate to shoot me a message, post a comment on the video. We will catch it and we will happily answer any questions that you have. And if you missed us on our Halloween dance last week, as I'm still kind of in Halloween mode talking about candy, never fear. We had a great time. It was so much fun. We have a Valentine's dance coming up as well. So that's going to be on I believe it's the 9th and 10th of February, but keep an eye out really soon so that you don't miss your spot in that because, oh my gosh, we had so much fun. As always, happy planning until next week, and I will talk to you then. Bye.